Saya king andas lukunana digula.
In July 2005, 25 Tlingit, Haida and Tsimshian elders gathered in Juneau, Alaska to speak and listen and meet with one another, to tell stories about their lives, their clans, their nations, and their land. Stories about embracing family and community wellness. The year before, these same elders had met to agree upon a common set of traditional tribal values. Those values were then taken to the 69th Annual Delegates Assembly of the tribe and unanimously adopted. They are as follows: discipline and obedience to the traditions of our ancestors, respect for self, elders, and others, respect for nature and property, patience. Pride in family, clan, and traditions is found in love, loyalty, and generosity. Be strong in mind, body, and spirit. Humor. Hold each other up. Listen well and with respect. Speak with care. We are stewards of the air, land, and sea. Reverence for our Creator. Live in peace and harmony. Be strong and have courage. These are the stories they told.
Anyana Katusak, Kikta de Yachat, Gagan Hitdach, Shit Kakwan Ayachat, Akla Kakan San Yudusak, Dutlakua Achlisk, Kukach Yudusak Achlisk, Ach Ishko Chukanadea Waho. Chai hitdach Katash tu yudu thakach ish. Du ish ko chlisk da wak yudu thak. Tak day in ta na weho. What I did was just give an introduction of who I was. My name is Anyanach. Anyanach means going by Old Sitka, because you take the word on is the town, Yanach is going by. And since I'm a raven from Sitka, what I was told was that it means a raven flying by Old Sitka. I told you I was Kiksadi from the Sun House, that I'm Shitka Kwan, and that my mother's name was Gakhan's son, and her mother, Olga Wilson was her name. Olga Wilson Keene. Olga Keene Wilson was her name. And her mom was, Kukuk was her name. And her English name was Annie Michael. Then I went on to introduce my father's, who was Chukanadi from the Chai Hit, and his name was Katush too. And his father was Dr. Town. His name was Frank Wilson. My dad's name was John Wilson, John F. Wilson. And my grandpa's name was Frank Wilson. And so that's what I just said in Tlingit. And it took me a long time to learn how to do this. I wasn't raised in the regular tradition of being taught how to speak Tlingit. It took me a good 10 years to learn what I just said. What I'm going to do is tell some stories that really don't belong to me. I'm just going to relate a story that was passed on to me by my uncle, Andrew Johnny. And I'm going to start off with, I'm going to do two different stories. The first one that Andrew told me about was when him and his dad used to come over on the Grace, and they used to go out here at Indian Point and pick up herring eggs. And the reason he was telling me this was because he said they don't take care of the food anymore like they used to a long time ago. They just throw it around. A long time ago, he said, they used to wash it, took their time washing it out, and then when they got it clean, they picked it up like a little baby. This is herring eggs I talk about. Then they laid it on the deck like it was a human being. This is the way they took care of their food. And this was, I think, one of the lessons that he was trying to teach me of how you treat your food. The other part on this story is that after he got done, and the boat was all cleaned up, the skiff was all cleaned up, everything was cleaned up. They never left things dirty. They always took care of it right to the end, cleaned everything up so it don't smell, don't spoil the food. This is when Andrew asked his dad, he says, can I go to the movie? Or I think they used to call it show hall. And he said, well, first he asked his dad, when are we going to leave? And he said, his dad said, the morning tide. And that's when he asked if he could go to the movie. Andrew Johnny ran from Auk Bay into the 20th century to go to the show. And you can see why I'm telling this story about how the young men kept in condition, how our men used to keep in real good shape, and even when they danced, they did it to show off how strong their legs were and how strong their heart was. After the show, Andrew ran back from town, ran back to Auk Bay. That's quite a run for just to go see a movie. And I point this out to the young men who have a hard time walking from the car to wherever they're going into. They park as close to the door as they can. And we need to start getting our physical shape back of running, getting up in the morning, doing push-ups, and becoming strong again. I don't know how the women were kept, I think they were busy all the time, doing things, but that isn't the way I was. I wasn't raised as a girl. I was raised as a young man. During the time that me and my brother used to hunt out here at False Arden, my brother used to like to run, and he used to run up to the top of the mountain, up to the snow line, run. He just took off running. We'd see deer over this way, and we'd see deer over this way, but we just kept on going till we got to the top, and then we hunted on the way down. We did that for exercise, to make our legs strong, because we were basketball players. And we didn't want our parents or anybody saying, look at those guys, they're out of shape. So it's conditioning, to me, is a big part of what we have to start with in our younger children, especially when I mentioned how they cared for food. We found out in the Children of All Nations we used to bring pop for breaks. Now we don't do that. We bring juice so that the kids are drinking the right thing, and we're not putting soda pop into their body or sweet stuff. The other story that Andrew told me, he taught me a lot of things. One thing, I'll just throw this in real fast, is one day they were having a doings over here at A&B Hall, and there was a question that I need answered. So I ran out to Andrew's place, and on the way by, I stopped at the store and got some pie for his wife. And Andrew could see I was in a big rush. I wanted to ask him that question and get back to the hall. And he started talking to me in a real calm voice, and he started telling me about a long time ago, about when he was a young man. And he just kept on talking like that, and then I finally figured out that it was patience that he was trying to teach me. That you just don't walk into a room and say, hey, I want to know this, I want to know that, I want to know this. When the time comes, Andrew spoke up after he got through talking for an hour. He said, okay, Ray, what do you want to know? By that time, the thing was over here, but I still needed the information. But he was trying to teach me that there's nothing in that big a rush to be rude to the people that you're trying to ask information from. One day I came into the Andrew's trailer, and I sat down there, and right off the bat, he looked at me and he says, Ray, what would you rather be, the top of the totem pole or the bottom of the totem pole? And I kind of laughed, and I said, well, I don't know, Andy. I never thought of it. Sometimes our uncles like to kid around with us, and I thought that's what he was doing. He thought he was pulling my leg. And so I told him, I said, I don't know, Andy, I never thought about it. And he said, well, think about it. I'll give you 2 minutes. And then things were going around in my mind saying, what is this, a trick question, a riddle? What is it? What's he trying to do here? By the time these things were going around in my mind, he looked back at me and says, okay, time's up. What's your answer? I looked at his face and I could see that he was serious in what he was doing. And then I told him, well, I still don't know, Andy. I guess I'd rather be at the top. And then he went on to say, you know, Ray, the foundation of the Tlingit culture is respect for oneself and respect for other people. To me, I was thinking that he was talking about the foundation of the totem pole, but he was using the Tlingit culture as a way to tell me about this. He went on to say that no matter what you do, Ray, if you don't have the foundation that I just told you about, you're going to fail in what you're going to do, whatever you try. To have respect for other people and respect for yourself, I tried to figure out what respect for self means. And I determined that it means different things to different people on the way they're thinking about who they are. He went on to say it's a strong man that holds up the totem pole. And he said, I'm not just talking about physical strength. You need to be strong all the time. I'm talking about your mind. how if you see something is going wrong over here, and if you don't say nothing about it, that's wrong. You have to walk in there to be a strong person right here like this and say, hey, that's wrong. You shouldn't be doing that. He said this pole is made up of the society of the Tlingit people, of any society, it doesn't matter. Each person in that totem pole has a certain obligation to fulfill in order to make that society work. So all these things that he was telling me in this one little lesson, that's what I'd like to pass on to our younger generation, because I feel right here that we've lost this respect for each other and respect for other people. We're not the people that we used to be, but we can get it back because we know that's the way our ancestors were. And we have to start over here with these younger people so that we can say, hey, build your foundation good. As you grow up, you're going to be a good person. So these are the things that my Uncle Andrew talked to me about. There was a lot of other things that in later on that I would enjoy telling you about. But I think this is the way that the lessons were passed on to different people. Like I said, I never was brought up in the right way. I knew a lot more about my father's people than I did my mother's people. But still, I'm here to learn what I can before I leave this earth. And as I learn, I want to pass it on, because it doesn't do me any good to pack it around. It has to be put out there in the world that where our young men can listen to what we're saying and say, okay, yeah, I can do this. The reason why I'm telling you I wasn't brought up in this culture is because a lot of the young men that we're going to be talking to now have not been brought up in this culture. It's difficult to learn the culture. It's difficult to walk the straight and narrow path, but it's the right one. And these are the stories that I wanted to share with the younger generation today. And gonna cheese away a het to cut you on. Gonna cheese.
Alisaya King Andas Lukunana Digula Digwa Waginanuya Daskitalun Kilkana Digula Digwa Yahualihi I Yahualihi 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 Yahualihi